Here's the harsh truth about AI and sales that nobody wants to admit right now. Look, it's absolutely no news that AI is completely changing sales and marketing as we know it. But in my opinion, it's not in the way that most people are thinking. I don't think it's going to make everyone more productive. I think it's going to make most people completely irrelevant. In my opinion, 95% of sales and marketing roles are going to completely disappear in the next 5 to 10 years. And the remaining 5%, they won't only survive, so they're not just surviving by the skin of their teeth. I think they're going to completely dominate the market. I think they're going to be valued by like elite athletes. Like think of, the top NFL players, the top basketball players, the top Premier League football players over here in the UK. And it's not going to be for what they create with AI, but it's for what they can do without it. And this, in my opinion, is the future that we are heading pretty rapidly towards. And this, in my opinion, is all based around what I like to call the exclusivity principle, okay? Status is completely built on scarcity. Anything that becomes widely available loses all of its value, okay? So things get less valuable as it becomes more widely available. This is pretty simple business and simple economics. If we look at this, it happened with food. When fast food like McDonald's, like Burger King, and most restaurants today that you would classify as fast food became completely universal, the elites, so the people that can afford to do things that most people can't, paid more for organic. And that's where you get shops like Whole Foods and Erewhon and things like that, okay? They paid for private chefs. They paid for exclusivity. They paid for restaurants that you can't get a reservation in, okay? The same thing happened with cars as well, Once cars became common and a common form of transport for most people around the world, the elites moved themselves to chauffeurs. They moved themselves to luxury brands. They're driving in the back of a Maybach. They're driving in the latest Ferrari and the latest Lamborghini, okay? They're getting rare models that you and I cannot get. Okay. And this also happened with social media as well. Once everyone posted constantly, once everyone has an Instagram account, once everyone has a Twitter account, the elites are either curating this tightly through private networks or they've withdrawn completely. Okay. It's now really high status to have a minimal social presence. Okay. Because you can afford not to. Most people can't afford not to have a social presence or don't have the agency within themselves to remove themselves from that social presence. The elites can. Okay, they don't need to be on social media. And I think this same principle will completely define AI. And why do I think that? Well, I think this because AI is going to become low status. And this might be a controversial opinion, but let me explain why I think this is, okay? AI is going to be everywhere, and we're already seeing it permeate into most echelons of society right now. Anybody will be able to create content. They'll be able to create emails, ads, videos, pictures, okay? And that accessibility will make it completely low status. The elites will be using AI in the background to strip away repetitive, boring work, okay, that they think is low status. But on the front stage, and this is where reputation, where persuasion, where trust really matters, they are going to stay completely human because they can and they know that this is the right play to make. So being AI free will signal taste, it'll signal power, it'll signal exclusivity. The ability to be free of AI and not reliant on AI is a sign of taste, power, and exclusivity. Okay? And what we're going to see as a result of this is that decision makers are going to start to reject AI slop. So executives, high-level decision makers in companies that are paid for their judgment, their taste, and their vision. This is why they get the salaries that they get, their experience, their judgment, their taste, their vision. These are really important things that they get hired for. If they rely on AI to speak for them, then they become completely replaceable in the hierarchy. The business will just replace them, okay, because they're not needed. So what are they going to do? Well, they are going to resist this, okay, completely. They're going to treat AI generated output like slop. We're already seeing this in the fringes of society right now. People are pushing back against AI slop, okay? Emails, calls, ads, content, and they're going to dismiss anybody that leans on it, okay? And what this is going to cause as an outcome is what I like to call the 95-5 split. So the outcome is really simple here. In my opinion, 95% of sales and marketing jobs vanish. And I know that's depressing to hear, and it's not something uplifting to hear, but I think that is the reality of the situation that we're facing. But I think the 5%, that remain are going to completely dominate this market. And they're not going to be valued for scale, but they're going to be valued here for their scarcity. Not for what AI produces, but for their ability to build trust, to build influence, and to build relationships. And like I mentioned earlier, these are going to be like elite athletes in the NFL or the Premier League, okay? We're not going to see the NFL and the Premier League replaced by AI, okay? Because these people are paid for their human ability to operate at an extremely high level. Okay, what we're going to see is that these people will stand apart and they will be paid accordingly, completely accordingly. We're going to see the 5% that are still around, their wages are just going to go up and up and up, and they'll be doing equity plays and they will be taking percentages of businesses. Okay, and what this really means is that conversations are complete currency today. I believe that most sales teams are going to collapse. And this is because they're built on volume, they're built on automation, they're built on generic outreach. And that model does not survive in a world where AI makes volume cheap and makes it completely forgettable. We're seeing this already with the efficacy of high volume, low effort outbound techniques like cold email, LinkedIn, and other forms of this as well. What matters now is conversations. Conversations are the currency of today, okay, and of the future as well. I believe that the companies that will consistently get the decision makers on the phone, these will control the market, okay? Now, if you are interested, this is what we've been helping SaaS and product market teams with. We've built a system that we like to call the conversation engine. It's a system that's designed to make those conversations predictable, okay? And our clients are generating 10 to 20 qualified sales calls every single month without the headache of hiring and managing SDRs. Now, if that sounds useful, then the link is in the bio. Then if not, then that's completely fine as well. Okay, there's no worries. So how do I see the future of B2B? I see it smaller, I see it centralized, and I see it completely elitist. I don't think the B2B will die. There will always be businesses selling to businesses, and there has been since the dawn of time in many different formats and ways of doing that, okay? But I believe that we're going to see a shrinkage in this space in the next 5 to 10 years. I think the market's going to consolidate around the few who can operate human first, and I think this is where the differentiating factor is going to be. I think deals are going to happen in private networks, and I don't think they're going to happen in automated funnels. And when I talk about deals here, I don't mean like simple or small, like $5 to $100 deals. I'm talking about deals that have average contract values of 50 plus K a year. Okay, so these are big deals, $1 million deals. These are going to happen in private networks. These are not going to happen in automated funnels. I think the landscape is going to become increasingly classist. I think it's going to becoming consistently elitist as well by design. And being able to operate without AI will be seen as a privilege. Okay, so what's funny is that AI, I think, has been designed by those who have designed it to help democratize information, to democratize the ability for anyone around the world to do whatever they want to do. But with that, you have to look at base human nature and base human principles. People are classist, they are elitist by nature, and they are going to treat AI with the same principles. And we're going to see people shrinking here, and we're going to see these circles get smaller and smaller. So I don't think AI will kill sales and marketing completely, but I think it's going to strip it down. I think the bottom 95% is going to be automated away, and the top 5% is going to rise higher than ever. And this is because what is rare, and this is the sort of crux of what I'm trying to say here, what is rare will always be more valuable than what is common. And nothing is going to be rarer than a human brain. Okay, we're going to see AI everywhere. We're going to see the automations everywhere. But what AI can't be is a human brain. It can't have taste. It can't have principles. These are things that AI just cannot do right now, maybe in the future, but it can't replicate a human brain operating outside of the machine.